Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We have 80 more questions today. Let's go ahead and get started. Question 1. Who beat up Jeremiah? Zedekiah, Pashur, Ahab, or Gedaliah? Pashur. Jeremiah 20:1-2. Now Pashur, the son of Immer, the priest who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things. Then Pashur struck Jeremiah the prophet and put him in the stocks. 2. Who asked that John the Baptist be beheaded? Joanna, Pilate, Herodias, or Herod? Herodias. Mark 6:24-28. So she went out and said to her mother, Herodias, what shall I ask? And she said, the head of John the Baptist. Immediately she came in with haste to the king and asked, saying, I want you to give me the head of John. 3. How did the baby in Elizabeth's womb react when Mary, the mother of Jesus, visited? He leaped, he laughed, he moved, or he was still? He leaped. Luke 1:39-44. Now Mary arose in and went to a city of Judah, and entered the house of Zacharias, and greeted Elizabeth. And it happened, when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary, that the babe leaped in her womb. 4. Which book records grieving words for Israel in captivity? Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Nehemiah, or Lamentations? Lamentations. The entire book of Lamentations records grieving words of Israel in captivity. 5. Where is the rainbow in heaven located according to Revelation? On the sea, above the clouds, around the throne, or next to the altar? Around the throne, Revelation 4:3. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a sardius stone in appearance, and there was a rainbow around the throne in appearance like an emerald. 6. Whose rod turned into a serpent in Pharaoh's presence? Moses, Aaron, Joshua, or Caleb? Aaron. Exodus 7:10. So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did so, just as the Lord commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. 7. God said he had made Moses as blank before Pharaoh. God, prophet, angel, or leader? God. Exodus 7:1. So the Lord said to Moses, See, I have made you as God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. 8. How many days' journey did Moses tell Pharaoh the Israelites should go into the wilderness? 40, 4, 3, or 7? Exodus 5:3. So they said, The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice to the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. 9. On which month did the Israelites celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles? 3rd month, 7th month, 1st month, or 10th month? Seventh month. Leviticus 23:34. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Lord. 10. Which of these was not a type of offering made to the Lord? Burnt offering, sin offering, love offering, or peace offering? Love offering. Leviticus 4:3-5. Details types of offerings but does not mention love offerings. 11. On which year after leaving Egypt did the Israelites raise the tabernacle in the wilderness? 2nd year, 1st year, 5th year, or 7th year? Second year, Exodus 40:17, and it came to pass in the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. 12. Which apostle did people hope his shadow would heal their sick? Paul, John, Philip, or Peter? Peter, Acts 5:15, so that they brought the sick out into the streets and laid them on beds and couches, that at least the shadow of Peter passing by might fall on some of them. 13. In which city did Jesus heal the blind man who said he saw people like trees? Jericho, Bethsaida, Samaria, or Nazareth? Bethsaida, Mark 8:22-24. Then he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. And he looked up and said, I see men like trees walking. 14. Which sect of the Hebrews complained to the apostles that their widows were neglected? Hellenists, Zealots, Sadducees, or Pharisees? Hellenists, Acts 6:1. Now in those days when the number of the disciples was multiplying, these arose a complaint against the Hebrews by the Hellenists, because their widows were neglected in the daily distribution. 15. What was the age consideration for widows to receive aid in the early church? 80 years, 50 years, 60 years, or 40 years? "60 years, 1 Timothy 5:9. Do not let a widow under 60 years old be taken into the number, and not unless she has been the wife of one man. 16. Which apostle was stoned and presumed dead? Paul, James, Peter, or John? Paul, Acts 14:19. Then Jews from Antioch and Iconium came there, and having persuaded the multitudes, they stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing him to be dead. 17. Which sect of the Jews did not believe in the existence of angels? Sadducees, Pharisees, Essenes, or Zealots? Sadducees, Acts 23:8. For Sadducees say that there is no resurrection and no angel or spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. 18. Whose diet was wild honey and locusts? John the Baptist, Matthew 3:1-4. In those days John the Baptist came preaching in the wilderness. Now John himself was clothed in camel's hair with a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locusts and wild honey. 19. What did Festus say had made Paul mad? Much suffering, his belief, much learning, or his visions? Much learning. Acts 26:24. Now as he thus made his defense, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, you are beside yourself. Much learning is driving you mad. 20. What did Abraham's servant give as gifts to Rebekah to be Isaac's wife? Clothing, silver, gold, or all of the above? All of the above. Genesis 24:53. Then the servant brought out jewelry of silver, jewelry of gold, and clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. 21. Who was the first person to pass by the man in the parable of the Good Samaritan? Lawyer, priest, Samaritan, or neighbor? The priest, Luke 10:30-31. Then Jesus answered and said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came in. 22. Who asked, Can anything good come from Nazareth? Thomas, Peter, Nathanael, or Philip? Nathanael, John 1:45, Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." And Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" 23. Which part of Jesus' body was pierced by a spear? His side, his hand, his knee, or his heart? His side, John 19:34-37. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out, and he who has seen has testified, and his testimony is true. 24. Who was the father of Moses? Haran, Levi, Hur, or Amram? Amram, Exodus 6:20. Now Amram took for himself Jochebed, his father's sister, as wife, and she bore him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137. 25. Which of these is not among the 6 things that the Lord hates as listed in Proverbs? A proud look, eating unclean food, hands that shed innocent blood, or a lying tongue? Eating unclean food. Proverbs 6:16-19 lists 6 things the Lord hates, but eating unclean food is not among them. 26. Who besides Job cursed the day he was born? Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, or Moses? Jeremiah 20:14-15. Cursed be the day in which I was born. Let the day not be blessed in which my mother bore me. 27. Who advised Jacob to steal Esau's blessings? Laban, Isaac, Rebekah, or Rachel? Rebekah, Genesis 27:10. Rebekah said to Jacob, "I will make savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your brother that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death." 28. Who was known as a supplanter? Jacob, Esau, Laban, or Joseph? Jacob, Genesis 27:36. And Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now look, he has taken away my blessing." 29. It is appointed unto man blank to die. Once, Hebrews 9:27. And as it is appointed for man to die once, but after this the judgment. 30. What type of food did Esau give Isaac that made him more loved? Lamb stew, fish, wild honey, or wild game? Wild game, Genesis 25:28. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. 31. Which chapter of Proverbs talks about the virtuous woman? Proverbs 31, Proverbs 1, Proverbs 13, or Proverbs 3? Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. 32. Who was cursed to be a servant of servants? Canaan, Reuben, Ishmael, or Absalom? Canaan, Genesis 9:25. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants he shall be to his brethren." 33. Whom did God command to be blameless? Noah, Abraham, Moses, or Job? Abraham, Genesis 17:1. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am Almighty God, walk before me and be blameless." 34. Where did Martha and Mary live? Bethany, Nazareth, Jericho, or Nazareth? Bethany, John 11:1. Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. 35. Where was Mary the mother of Jesus headed to when she went into labor? Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Jericho, or Nazareth? Bethlehem, Luke 2:4-6. Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem. So it was that while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. 36. How many disciples did Jesus send to get him a donkey to ride on? 2, 1, 3, or 4? 2. Luke 19:29-30. And it came to pass when he drew near to Bethphage and Bethany at the mountain called Olivet, that he sent 2 of his disciples, saying, Go into the village opposite you, where as you enter you will find a colt tied. 37. What sign did Jesus give the disciples to identify the man who would give them room? A man sitting at the city gate, a man carrying a jar of water, a man wearing a red garment, or a man holding a staff? A man carrying a jar of water. Luke 22:10. And he said to them, Behold, when you have entered the city, a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house which he enters. 38. What judgment did the handwriting on the wall declare of Belshazzar's kingdom? The end of his kingdom, a curse on his kingdom, beginning of war, or death of his people? The end of his kingdom. Daniel 5:25-28. And this is the inscription that was written: Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. 39. Who was the father of King Belshazzar? Cyrus, Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, or Xerxes? Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel 5:1-2. Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem. 40. Who was the king's eunuch in charge of Daniel? Ashpenaz, Abednego, Ahaz, or Abimelech? Ashpenaz. Daniel 1:3. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles. 41. What was Daniel's name changed to? Azariah, Belteshazzar, Kohath, or Mishael? Belteshazzar. Daniel 1:7. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. 42. What was the first vision Jeremiah saw? Pot of boiling water, valley of dry bones, branch of an almond tree, or burning bush? Branch of an almond tree. Jeremiah 1:11. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I said, I see a branch of an almond tree. 43. To which people did Amos prophesy doom for the burning the bones of the kings of Edom? Moabites, Syrians, Ammonites, or Philistines? Moabites. Amos 2:1. Thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I will not turn away its punishment, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom to lime. 44. How much did Hosea pay to purchase his harlotry wife? 15 shekels of silver, 20 shekels of gold, 10 talents of silver, or 5 shekels of silver? $15 shekels of silver. Hosea 3:2. So I bought her for myself for 15 shekels of silver and 1 1/2 homers of barley. 45. Whose chariot did Elijah outrun on foot? Ahab's. 1 Kings 18:46. Then the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. 46. How many times did Elijah ask his servant to check for the sign of the cloud? 1, 2, 4, or 7? 7. 1 Kings 18:43. And said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. So he went up and looked and said, There is nothing. And 7 times he said, Go again. 47. Which brook did Elijah stay by for sustenance during the drought? Kidron, Cherith, Jordan, or Sorek? Cherith. 1 Kings 17:3. Get away from here and turn eastward, and hide by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan. 48. What food did the angel cook for Elijah? Cake, fish, manna, or barley? Cake. 1 Kings 19:5-6. Then, as he lay and slept under a broom tree, suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, Arise and eat. Then he looked, and there by his head was a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. 49. Which people were the native worshippers of goddess Ashtoreth? Egyptians, Babylonians, Sidonians, or Assyrians? Sidonians. 2 Kings 23:13. Then the king defiled the high places that were east of Jerusalem, which were on the south of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon king of Israel had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Sidonians. What plague came on the Philistines for stealing the Ark of the Covenant? Leprosy, tumors, barrenness, or madness? Tumors. 1 Samuel 5:6. But the hand of the Lord was heavy on the people of Ashdod, and he ravaged them and struck them with tumors. 51. Which priest killed the fornicating man and woman with a javelin, thus stopping a plague? Eleazar, Aaron, Abiathar, or Phinehas? Phinehas. Numbers 25:7-8. Now when Phinehas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he arose and took a javelin in his hand, and thrust both of them through the man of Israel and the woman through her body. 52. What did Elisha die for? Old age, sickness, plague, or he was killed? Sickness. 2 Kings 13:14. Elisha had become sick with the illness of which he would die. 53. Who was Nathan to David? A friend, a son, a prophet, or a priest? A prophet. 2 Samuel 12:1-7. Then the Lord sent Nathan to David, and he came to him and said to him, There were 2 men in one city, one rich and the other poor. 54. Who nicknamed Joseph the dreamer? His brothers. Genesis 37:19-20. Then they said to one another, Look, this dreamer is coming. Come therefore, let us now kill him and cast him into some pit, and we shall say, Some wild beast has devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams. 55. Who was David's firstborn son? Amnon, Solomon, Adonijah, or Absalom? Amnon. 2 Samuel 3:2. Sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon by Ahinoam the Jezreelites. 56. On what occasion did the disciples think Jesus was a ghost? When he walked on water, during the transfiguration, during his dramatic death, or during his baptism? When he walked on water. Matthew 14:25-26. Now in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a ghost, and they cried out for fear. 57. Which disciple was known as the twin? Andrew, James, Philip, or Thomas? Thomas, John 20:24. Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. 58. Who said to Elisha, my father, the chariots of Israel? Gehazi, Joash, Elijah, or Naaman? Joash, 2 Kings 13:14. Elisha had become sick with the illness of which he would die. Then Joash the king of Israel came down to him and wept over his face and said, O my father, the chariots of Israel and their horsemen. 59. What bones of the two thieves crucified with Jesus were broken by the soldiers? Hands, ribs, legs, or necks? Legs. John 19:31-33. Then the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. 60. From whom did Joseph of Arimathea ask for Jesus' body for burial? Caiaphas, Herod, Roman soldiers, or Pilate? Pilate. Mark 15:43. Joseph of Arimathea, who was himself waiting for the kingdom of God, coming and taking courage, went into Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. 61. What office of the Pharisees, Jews, was Joseph of Arimathea a part of? Tax collector, council member, lawyer, or centurion? Council member. Luke 23:50-51. Now behold, there was a man named Joseph, a council member, a good and just man. He had not consented to their decision on deed. 62. What did the builders of the Tower of Babel use to build? Bricks, wood, stones, or clay? Bricks. Genesis 11:3-4. Then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had bricks for stone and they had asphalt for mortar. 63. What was the reason for building the Tower of Babel? Avoid a flood, for business, build a kingdom, or for reputation? For reputation. Genesis 11:4. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. 64. Who was the seventh from Adam? Abraham, Noah, Enoch, or Lamech? Enoch. Jude 1:14. Now Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about these men also, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints. 65. How many songs did Solomon compose? 1,005, 3,000, 4,000, or 1,920? (1005). 1 Kings 4:32. He spoke 3,000 proverbs and his songs were 1,005. 66. Who were the original inhabitants of the land of Ur? Assyrians, Chaldeans, Canaanites, or Moabites? Chaldeans. Genesis 11:28. And Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. 67. Which of these is not among the wonders of the world as listed in Proverbs? The way of the ship in the sea, the way of the snake on a rock, the way of an eagle in the air, or the way of the sun in the sky? The way of the sun in the sky. Proverbs 30:18-19. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of the snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman. 68. How was Daniel's physique after eating vegetables? The same as the others, fatter than others, thinner than others, or none of the above? Fatter than others. Daniel 1:15. And at the end of the 10 days their features appeared better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. 69. Who commanded the Israelites to divorce their foreign wives after captivity? Ezra, Jeremiah, Nehemiah, or Ezekiel? Ezra 10:10-11. Then Ezra the priest stood up and said to them, "You have transgressed and have taken pagan wives. Now therefore make confession to the Lord God and separate yourselves from the pagan wives." 70. What did Tobias do to Nehemiah's work? Encouraged it, destroyed it, mocked it, or ignored it? Mocked it. Nehemiah 4:1-3. Now Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him, and he said, "Whatever they build, if even a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall." 71. What destroyed the broom tree that Jonah was taking shade under? The sun, the wind, a fire, or a worm? A worm. Jonah 4:7. But as morning dawned the next day, God prepared a worm, and it so damaged the plant that it withered. 72. Which disciple walked on water? John, Thomas, James, or Peter? Peter. Matthew 14:28-29. And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So he said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. 73. How many sons did Noah have? 3, 7, 2, or 5? Genesis 6:10. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 74. How many sons did Job have after the calamity? 3, 7, 10, or 5? Job 42:12. Now the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 sons. 75. Which book of the Bible narrates the story of Abraham? Genesis, Leviticus, Exodus, or Numbers? Genesis 12:1-2. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great." 76. Which assembly did Satan appear to when he convinced God to let Job suffer? The angels, sons of God, dead saints, or 24 elders? Sons of God. Job 1:6-7. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them, and the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" 77. What does blood represent? Life, love, wealth, or power? Life. Leviticus 17:11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that makes atonement for the soul. 78. What did Jacob use for a pillow the night he saw the ladder to heaven? Hay, a stone, a cloak, or leaves? The stone. Genesis 28:11-12. So he came to a certain place and stayed there all night, because the sun had set, and he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. 79. Joseph was like a blank to Pharaoh. Son, father, brother, or prophet? Father. Genesis 45:8. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. 80. What did Jacob do to Pharaoh? Blessed him, cursed him, fought him, or warned him? blessed him. Genesis 47:7. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and sent him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And that's all our questions today. Put your score down below in the comments and share this with your friends and family, and then we will see you all in the next one.